Welcome to another episode of Table for Us. Go ahead and pull up a seat to the table. Today, we are going to be talking about accountability. But before we jump into today's episode, first, I want to give all praise and glory to God because without Him, absolutely nothing that I do would be possible. Okay? He has gotten me through so much, especially in the past few years. If you have been following me, you already know everything that I have gone through, everything that I've dealt with, the obstacles that I've overcame, and it has been all because of God that I've gotten through any of that. Okay? The next thing I want to basically cover is I want to give a shout out to my podcast hosting platform, which is Podbean. If you have ever thought about starting your own podcast, I'm going to link how you can sign up with them and get your podcast hosted on them. You can start for free, okay? Free. So go ahead and check out that link below. And I also use Descript, which is who I use for editing my podcast, social media clips, and so forth. So I will go ahead and make sure that I also link that below as well for you. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into it. So we are talking about accountability, and this is accountability in the Black community. I'm specifically going to talk about, right? Because I can't really talk about, actually, no, I guess we could talk about accountability in general, but specifically within the people of color. So one thing that I have noticed in my 48 years of being on this earth is that we lack accountability as a whole, as people. And I'm going to throw myself in there because at one point that was me, right? Now that I'm more self-aware of the things that I do, say, and how I act and so forth, I'm definitely, and the fact that I'm also older, that I realize there are a lot of things that I have done that I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't have done that, or I probably shouldn't have said that. And I'm quick to take accountability for that. I will quickly accept my role that I played in whatever it is, right? And will, as because I'm an adult, I will apologize if I felt like that I was wrong. And honestly, even if I didn't feel like I was wrong, it's all about perception, right? So just because I perceive something to be like, oh, that wasn't bad, like why you tripping or whatever. But if it actually offended someone or hurt their feelings or whatever, I will generally apologize for the way that my actions or what I said made them feel. Now, let's not get that confused with me apologizing for what I said or what I did. It's just that my intentions of what I said or did was never to hurt that person or to offend them, right? So in that instance, I will go ahead and apologize. As people of color, right? I'm not going to say all, but the majority of us do not take accountability for our actions. When something happens and there's two people involved, right? There's this person's side and then there's this person's side and then there's what actually happened, right? So you're going to get these multiple sides of the story. And of course, everybody's going to have their version of how they saw it, right? But what we need to start doing is removing ourselves from our lens and look at things from the other way around. And what I mean by that is stop just being one-sided and just think that, oh, okay, your perception or how you see it is the right way and everybody else is the wrong way. And when you have that type of thought process and then you run into a bunch of issues with a whole lot of people, guess what? You're the common denominator. So it can't be everybody else and not you. You have to take accountability for your role that you played in whatever it is, whether it's something that you said, something that you did. We have to take accountability. And this is not to attack anybody, right? This is just in a general statement that we tend to not want to literally take accountability. We like to, in some cases, some people like to play victim, okay? Those type of people, what God has told me is I have to remove myself from and pray for them type of people, okay? You want to, because I don't even want to blame the people. Honestly, the enemy, right? Satan, the devil, whatever you want to call him, he likes to really, honestly, if anybody knows this, kill, steal, and destroy. whatever, your joy, your happiness, your finances, your family. That's his ultimate goal. So when you're doing good and everything is going great, right? He can sometimes use a person that's closest to you to come in, kill, steal, and destroy your total world, your happiness, everything. So the reason I brought that up is because there's a lot of people out here who are not consciously, right, doing things to other people. Like they don't even realize they're doing what they're doing, or they don't realize what they're saying. Now, I'm not going to say everybody, but there are some people out there that don't realize it until somebody calls them out on it, or they put a mirror in front of them. And what I mean by that is, hey, look at yourself in the mirror. Really see how everybody else sees you. And then in that moment, it's, ooh, is that how I really look to everybody? Is that, oh my God, I said that? And then you put yourself in those other people's shoes and you realize, hey, that wasn't nice. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. Or maybe sometimes it's not even what you say, it's how you say it, right? You can get your same message across without being rude, without being nasty, without being angry and yelling. You can, and when you do that, sometimes it's received a whole lot better. Okay? So you can say, I don't like when you sneeze out in the air without covering your mouth. Or you can say, when you don't cover your mouth when you sneeze, like, it makes me feel, I don't know, yucky, right? Like the germs are floating in the air. I basically said the same thing, but I said it differently. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And sometimes it is what you say. If you switch a few words around, it can be, again, received a whole lot better. When I was growing up, I had a huge problem with constructive criticism. I would get in my feelings, and I'm talking about when I was a little girl. I would cry and I'd be sad, I'd be angry. So many emotions and stuff would be going on with me. And honestly, I'm still dealing with this, even to this day. I'm not as emotional as I was growing up, but I still have this thing where I have to really swallow my pride because, again, I'm looking at things from my eyes. I'm not looking at how everybody else is seeing it in the reverse. So I have, as you guys know, if you're new here, you don't know, but I have a couple of businesses. I have a tax and credit repair business that I've had for years. I have a design and print business, which I've also had for years. And then, of course, I have the podcast. So sometimes I might have an idea of something and I want to bounce these ideas off of either my sister or my cousin, and sometimes even my children, right? And something that I may think, oh, this is fire, this is this and that. They may see something different coming from like a consumer perspective, right? And when they're giving me their constructive criticism on, oh, this is nice, but maybe you should change this, or you should do this, or you should say that, I'll be like, okay. Now, the constructive criticism that they're giving me, they're not in my face. I'm still working on how to make sure that my facial expressions are not matching what's going on in my head. So a lot of times it's either on the phone or it's a text or it's an email. So I'm reading it, right? And my immediate response, right, is to fire back because for some reason I feel attacked. So I think when we tell people certain stuff and we want to hold them accountable for whatever it is that they said or they did, they really feel attacked. So when you're dealing with people like that get offended, right? Say what you have to say, but say it in a way that it's going to be received. Think about, hey, if they were to say this to me, how would I receive this? How would I feel about this? Would I feel offended? Would I feel angry? Would I feel upset? Something like that. Sometimes you have to ask yourself that. Now, here's the thing. I am sensitive when it comes to my craft and my work because I put a lot of hours and energy, and especially when it comes to my print and design, it's my business. But I also have to think that just because I designed it and I like it doesn't mean that everybody else is going to like it and want to buy it. So when I take my feelings out of stuff, then it's, oh, okay, that's you know what? That makes perfect sense. I take the feeling offended out of there. I take the feeling like I need to have some type of a snide comment or something coming back. So this is growth. I haven't always been like this, and I'm still a work in progress. But I feel like there's so many people out there who don't even see or realize that they don't hold themselves accountable. They don't take accountability for anything. And they literally are walking around here, I don't want to say playing victim, because in their mind, they really are the victim. To everybody else, they playing victim, right? Because it's, now I know you saw that you did X, Y, and Z, or you said this and that, and you really don't think that you're wrong with that, or that you didn't show up and you didn't do that, and you don't feel like, that's wrong because this person is always showing up for you, but you're not showing up for them. Now, granted, people shouldn't be doing stuff thinking or having the mindset that, oh, I'm doing this because this is a favor for a favor. No, if you're going to do stuff for people, that's just you and that's what you want to do. However, when it becomes one-sided and then the other person doesn't appreciate it, that's when it becomes a problem. Okay? And then when you say something to somebody about it and they get offended, it's okay, so you don't see nothing wrong with the way this has been going. That falls into the lack of accountability. Say, you know what, you're right. I'm not going to go down a list of stuff that I wasn't there for, I didn't do, but you're right. I haven't been a good friend, or I haven't been a good sibling, or I haven't been a good parent or the best parent or whatever parent you need. Even with that, I even had to sit down and say, you know what? They have all these parent books out there, but in all honesty, when you become a parent, the thing, because I actually read one of those books and I was like, this does not apply to me, let alone to anybody of color. But I took some parenting classes that they had in my children's school, and some of the things that I learned in the parenting classes opened my eyes to like, okay, I can communicate differently with my children because they were young then. So one of the things I remember them saying was, when you're talking to a child, we're tall, we're up here, right? And they're down here. So they like come down to their level, talk to them eye to eye, and they won't feel so attacked or offended. So I tried that with, I don't remember who it was I tried it with, but I started doing that, especially like with my younger one. I'll sit down so that we eye to eye. And I notice when I do that, he opens up more, he'll talk to me, versus when I'm standing up over him, he'll shut down and just won't say anything. So I'm like, you know what? I could be better in that area when I'm talking to them. I could be better in making sure that I'm not taking my long day that I had off on them. So that was me taking accountability for the way that I was acting towards my children. At the end of the day, these are my babies, and they didn't do anything to me. It's not their fault I had a long, frustrating day at work. It's not their fault that mommy's having to figure out bills and all this stuff. And it's just like, you're coming to me at the wrong time. And when things were pointed out to me from my older children and how I would respond to them, I'm like, you know what? I apologize. I didn't mean to do that. Now, I will say this. It wasn't always instant. Sometimes it took me a minute because, again, I'm feeling attacked. Because of the way that it was brought to my attention, that I was saying things, I don't want to say wrong, but I could have done things a little bit better, right? And when it was brought to my attention of the things that I did that, bothered them or hurt them, I took offense to it. I'm not even gonna lie, I did. But after I calmed down and got on my feelings, it was now the accountability part came into place, where it's okay, you know what? You're right. I was wrong. I could have handled that differently. I could have said this differently. So I apologize. And this is not to attack anybody. This is to bring basically awareness to the fact that we struggle with accountability as people, right? As moms, as women, as men, as partners. Like, I just feel like this is a universal thing that a lot of people just tend to not want to take accountability because they just don't want to be wrong. You have people out there, it's just, it's not me, it's you. It's just, okay. That's how you feel, that's how you feel. But like I said earlier, if it becomes to the point where there's 20 people, and this is elaborate, but there's 20 people basically saying the same thing about one person, It can't be all them 20 people. It's you. You got to check yourself. You got to do a self-evaluation. One of the things that has helped me so much in really seeing me and how I act is my relationship with God, right? And just opening my eyes, me asking him to show me the areas that I need to work on in my life. And then partnering that with therapy. I had horrible anger issues growing up. And it was just me holding stuff in and being frustrated by the fact that I had this weight placed on me that I didn't want to have placed on me. Being the oldest of all my siblings, it was like I had to grow up fast and be the responsible one and look after my siblings. I didn't get to always do what I wanted to do as far as going outside. So I had a lot of resentment and anger. On top of that, my dad not really being around when I was growing up frustrated me, made me angry. Because of those things, when someone would say something to me that I didn't like, constructive criticism or whatever, I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm seeing red, and I really want to punch you in your face. Now tears is rolling down my eyes, but I know I can't punch you in your face, so that's why the tears is rolling down my eyes now, because it's the environment wherever we're at. It could have been at school. It could have been once I became a teenager. Now I'm working this after school job, and I don't want to lose my job because this person has said something to me that I didn't like. So now, I'm frustrated and tears is coming down my eyes because I really want to punch you in your face. So we can't be violent. We don't want to be violent, right? We want to handle things more calm, right? So one of the things that I remember my oldest son, he used to have a bit of some frustration and anger issues as well. And I remember saying, you know what, I'm going to put you in karate. Now, he will tell you he only did 2 classes, but I remember it being way more classes. But anyway, I feel like me putting him in karate gave him a few exercises that I was then able to use at home. So one of them was basically just go sit down, meditate, count to 10 or count to 20, count to something, depending on how upset he was. I would be like, go meditate, go sit somewhere and count for a minute. And he would literally go sit down in his room or wherever he would go sit, a couple of deep breaths in and out in his head, count to however many numbers I told him to count to. And at that point, he would calm down. So that was a good exercise that I feel anybody basically can do. Whether it's, okay, I need to do some breathing exercises to count to 100 because I really want to punch you in your face and I know I can't do that, so I'm going to count to 100, right? For me, now it's let me pray. So in my head, I'll say a quick prayer like, Lord, help me right now to not be angry, to not be upset, to not even think about wanting to punch this person in the face. So that has helped me a great deal. And now that's not always, I will say not always my first thought is to be violent, because I don't want to be violent, right? I don't like to be violent, but I can be, but I don't want to be. So it's that line between, okay, what I can be versus what I want or don't want to be. Okay, so we don't always want to be the victim, right? We don't want to always be angry or upset. We don't want to always be taking everything offensively. We have to really take accountability for whatever we did that caused that. And sometimes it is nothing that you did that caused anything, right? Sometimes it's just that other person is just angry and upset with themselves. And they just taking it out on you because you're the closest person. Call them out on it in a nice way. Let's say, for instance, and I'm going to use myself again as an example. I'm angry and I'm frustrated. When I was growing up, right, I love my mommy to death. But she was a young mom, right? So there was a lot of things she couldn't do now that she didn't have this baby. She's 15 years old. She has this little baby. So going out, partying and doing all of this, my grandmother was like, no, you got your daughter. So my mother would be very frustrated. So I noticed, like, sometimes because of those frustrations, and this is just natural, this is what happened, she took it out on me because I was the closest thing to her. Now, what happened is, because of that, when I became a parent, I parented the way that my mother parented to me. Now, we're in a different time, so punching your child in the chest and all that, you can't be doing that because CPS gonna get caught. When I was growing up, there wasn't no such thing I guess CPS is around. I don't know if they even existed then, but you get your butt whooped and wasn't nobody coming to your rescue when I was growing up. So I had to basically say, you know what? I can't be this type of parent where I'm hitting my children or yelling and screaming or even cussing at them. Like I used to do that, right? And my accountability side now is, ooh, that was bad. That was wrong. I should not have been doing that. And there's been some times where in some conversations, you can't go back and change things, but for individuals to know that you are aware of what it is that you did and now you're apologetic about it, it means the world. Because once we say stuff, we can't take it back. Once we do things, we can't take it back. But being accountable for your actions and apologizing for it, it definitely softens the feelings that are left behind by whatever it is that you said or you did. Words hurt. I remember growing up and being told that sticks and stones may break your bones, but words can never hurt you. And I said, who came up with that? Because words do hurt, right? Sometimes words hurt a whole lot worse than a physical blow. And I know that for a fact after I've never been in a physical abusive relationship. Thank you, Lord. For those that are out there, you deserve better. Okay? When they do it once and they say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it again, they're going to do it again. Okay? Get out of it. I stayed in an abusive relationship, but it was a verbally and mentally abusive relationship. Also emotional abusive too, because you don't really think about emotional abuse. So there was emotional abuse, there was verbal abuse, and then the mental abuse aspect was basically the manipulation, the mind manipulation. Basically broke down my self-esteem to where it's okay, now I'm verbally saying stuff to you, but I'm attacking your mental at the same time. And then I'm gonna hit you in your heart. So now it's emotional, right? And there was no calling this person out and putting a mirror in front of them, because literally they were the monster. They were the beast in that moment. So nothing that I said was going to show this person the hurtful things that they were saying. Now, we fast forward. I want to say, let me see, my son is 18 now. Let's say maybe 10 years or so ago, I had a conversation with my ex-husband, and he actually took accountability. I will say that. He took accountability for his words and the way that he treated me when we were together, and literally apologized and wished that he hadn't done what he did. And all this time, I didn't realize that I was still angry and upset about all that stuff, because it was like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm getting out. I'm getting away. I'm filing this restraining order. I'm done with you. Blah, blah, blah. I don't ever want to see you again. Yada, yada. Moved away. All the stuff, right? And I'm living my life. At least I'm thinking I'm moving on with my life and living my life. But deep down, right, there was this door in a part of my heart that I closed and locked and forgot about, right? There was this hurt, there was this anger, there was this resentment. There was all this stuff that I had locked up that I didn't realize was still there until he held himself accountable and apologized. And I just felt like this, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it was almost like waiting to exhale, where it was just like, I didn't realize I wanted to hear that, and let alone needed to hear that apology. So when you don't hold yourself accountable, you could be leaving a long-lasting effect on someone, right? Now, some people, they're good. They don't need your apology, right? At least they think they don't. Because I for sure thought I didn't need that. But him doing that, it released something in me to where it was like, okay, I'm no longer angry. I'm no longer resentful. It's like now I can have a conversation with him and me not feeling I have to be snappy with him or whatever. So it's a different conversation now when I talk to him, since he basically held himself accountable for his actions and the way that he spoke and talked to me. So I will generally say that when you do that, it means a lot to whomever that you might have offended, might have done something wrong to. A simple, I was wrong, I apologize, it goes a long way, okay? Even in businesses, we are not perfect. We are not right. So there's going to be things that we're going to say and we're going to do in some type of way. We are going to offend somebody. Even if it wasn't intentional, we still need to be accountable for what we did and apologize for those things. Don't just leave things the way that they are and be like, I don't care. I don't give a whatever, and just feel like everything is just going to be okay. We cannot do that, because one, you are going to be eventually, that I don't want to call it karma, but at some point that's going to come back on you, right? The way that you treat and you talk to people, okay? The way that you just dismiss people, that is going to have a long lasting effect on you at some point or another, right? So at some point, you really need to do a self check evaluation on yourself and how you treat people, how you talk to people, and how you care, or your lack of care for people, because at some point you never know when you may or might need something, not even specifically from that person, but from somebody else. And now you're getting that treatment that you gave to other people is going to come back on you. Okay. So if you don't take nothing else from this episode, I want you to take from this where you really need to do a self evaluation and hold yourself accountable for your actions, for your words, and for your feelings and treatment of others. Okay. You don't have to be rude, nasty, or mean to get your point across. You can say what you need to say without saying it so mean and hurtful, right? And if you, let me tell you something. If it's something you want to say and you don't know exactly how to say it without sounding mean, drop it into Google or something. Ask Google, ask ChatGPT. Hey, I want to say this and this. How can I say this without sounding so rude or mean or nasty? And it'll help you, right? Because if you don't know how to talk to individuals, then just go ahead and drop it in that, and it's going to help you be able to do that. All right. I hope you guys took something from this and you do some self evaluation, or you're able to sit down and think of how you can say something to someone else who might have said something to you, wronged you, or hurt you.
Hi, so my name is Nicolette Royal, or Nicole Johnson for legal purposes. Royal is my father's last name, but my mom gave me my dad's last name, but I use it now with my businesses, and I am the owner of Royal Legacy Services. Royal Legacy Services is a tax prep and tax advisory credit repair business. I started this business, I started doing taxes maybe about 20 years ago, and I treat it as a hobby. It was always a side gig for me. It wasn't until 2 years ago that I decided to go full in with my business when I got laid off. So I provide tax services for personal taxes. I provide tax services for small businesses. I provide tax advice. So with the tax advice, I typically try to give people tips and advice on what they need to do in the year before tax season. So different things and strategies that you can implement now will help you with tax savings, tax deductions, and credits and so forth when tax season comes around. I added credit repair about 3 years ago as a service to my tax business. And the reason being was because I had so many tax clients that I would hear when I would have a consultation with them. They would say, as soon as I get my money, I'm going to pay this off, or I'm going to do this so that I can fix my credit. So I felt like it was an opportunity to add credit repair services so that I can help them with their taxes and their credit. One of the things that really helped me in my business is I was my first client. So I started doing my own taxes myself. And then that turned into me doing taxes for family members and then friends. And pretty much everybody that I have currently literally is a referral. I might have a few people that found me on like Yelp or Facebook or something like that, but majority of my clients that I have, they were referred to me by somebody else. The same with credit repair. I actually went to an actual credit repair company before I was about to buy my house. And they got a couple of things off, but they didn't educate me on the importance of how to build my credit back up. They didn't educate me on the different consumer laws or anything of that sort. They just was like, pay me this money and we're going to do this. well, pay this money to enroll. And I believe they had like a paper delete type of thing. So I decided to do credit repair differently. I probably overshare with my clients. I probably whelm them with things, but I want them to know everything that I know so that they can make sure that they don't get back into the same predicament that they're in when they come to me, right? So I make sure that they know about what makes up their credit score. I make sure that they know that in addition to me getting negative items removed, that they also need to now establish new credit. So I have a list of credit building accounts that I refer them to, and I walk them through the entire process. I also have an ebook that I typically tell new clients, potential clients, right? I tell them, hey, here's an ebook. If you want to work on your credit yourself, you can. And here's the steps on how to do that. So I'll share the link with my Stan store where you can actually purchase my ebook. You'll also have a link on how you can reach me. You will, what else am I going to share? So my number is 702-969-3605. That is my business number. That is how you can reach me, or you can go to Royal Legacy Services, so svcs.com, and you can go ahead and schedule a consultation with me, and I will look at everything that you have going on, whether it's your taxes. I do back taxes. I try to stay away from amendments. If I didn't file your taxes, I typically don't like redoing somebody else's stuff, but I can look at it and look it over and see if it's something that I can help you with. The tax advice, I typically, if you have a business, I love people who have small businesses because there is so much that you are able to claim as a deduction under your business. So those are all the things that I will walk you through and talk you through when you have a consultation with me. So Nicole Johnson or Nicole Royal with Royal.
Okay, thank you so much for pulling up a seat to the table. Again, if you are interested in starting your own podcast, go ahead and click the link below so that you can be able to check out Podbean, which is where I host my podcast, or you can also check out Descript. I'm going to leave the link below if you're interested in the platform that I use to edit my podcast. Thank you so much for pulling up a seat to the table. I hope you guys have a blessed week. Until next time. There we are.